Hi, so we're moving on to chapter 6. You can see there it says we are going to go over photosynthesis. It's fun. Yeah, lovely. Okay, so before we get to this, let's talk about where we came from. We talked about the cell in chapter 4, and we talked about all the different organelles and all the cell structures in chapter 4. Then in chapter 5, we just went over the cell membrane and talked about how things get into the cell and how things leave the cell. Now we're going to talk about one of the organelles of the cell, and that is just going to be in plant cells. It's going to be the chloroplast. So the chloroplast is where photosynthesis occurs. Now, I said this is in plant cells, and plant cells are eukaryotic cells. Photosynthesis actually can occur in some prokaryotic cells as well, which is kind of weird because I just said the chloroplast is where photosynthesis takes place. Well, if photosynthesis can occur in a prokaryotic cell, you guys know prokaryotic cells don't have any organelles. So if they don't have any organelles, that means they don't have a chloroplast. And I just said that's where photosynthesis takes place. So how does a prokaryotic cell go through photosynthesis? Well, they can actually use their cell membrane to generate the products of photosynthesis. So for photosynthesis, guys, mostly we're just going to talk about plant cells in this chapter. It makes it easier on us, and that's the thing we have to know with the chloroplast. But just so you know, some prokaryotic cells also can go through photosynthesis. So we're going to talk about two different types of organisms, two different categories, and we're going to classify them on how they get their energy. And I don't know why, but once again, I was thinking about Willy Wonka, just like I was in the last chapter with Violet getting real big, all right, and potentially exploding. But I was thinking about Willy Wonka and thinking about all the different, chocolate and all whatever is in this lovely, beautiful, magnificent place, and thinking about just going there and eating all of it. And I would have so much energy that I would probably actually have too much. My body wouldn't be able to take it all in, and I'd probably just fall asleep after eating all that. But this room was pretty much made of sugar, and we know that's how we get energy, through sugar. So keep that in mind through this chapter, guys, okay, that we get energy from sugar. Now let's talk about the two different types of organisms, or two different categories of organisms, with how they get energy. The first one is going to be autotrophs. Now, autotrophs are going to get their energy from sunlight. They're going to take in some sunlight. They're going to snack on that sunlight, along with some other things, mainly water and carbon dioxide. And they are going to transform these three ingredients and make glucose out of it. And glucose is sugar. When you think of autotrophs, guys, these are our producers. These are things that are like plants, okay? So with autotrophs, they're going to use photosynthesis in order to make their food. They're going to convert light energy into chemical energy. And when we talk about chemical energy, guys, we're talking about carbohydrates. What are carbohydrates? Well, if you recall from chapter 3, carbohydrates are things like glucose, which is a fancy word for a simple sugar, which is a fancy word for just sugar. Okay, so glucose is sugar. That is the goal of photosynthesis. The goal of photosynthesis is to make glucose or sugar. Our other category, which is not autotrophs, are going to be heterotrophs. Now, let me go back to autotrophs for a second before I talk about heterotrophs. If we broke apart the word autotroph, auto actually means self. So when you have an automobile, it's a mobile thing that propels itself, okay? So like I said, they can make food themselves. Heterotroph, the prefix hetero means different. So they are different, they're opposite of autotrophs. So they cannot make food by themselves, all right? These are things like a lovely fox we have over here. Yeah, you thought it was a dog. It's a fox. It's cute. I know. And then our lovely, oh, look at the cat. Okay. Scratch your head off if you get too close. No. But these are heterotrophs. These are organisms that cannot make their own food. So what they're going to do, these organisms, are they are going to obtain energy from our autotrophs, or obtain energy from something that obtain energy from our autotrophs. That was a lot of words, right? Let me present words that are easier for us, okay? These will be easier words. We have us, we have a cow, and we have a plant, all right? The plant is the autotroph. A cow can't do photosynthesis, so it's a heterotroph. And us, we're obviously heterotrophs. So you got the cow that's going to eat the plant. So we got a heterotroph that ate an autotroph. And then we're going to eat the cow. So we're a heterotroph eating a heterotroph. But that heterotroph, the cow, obtained energy from the autotroph, the producer. Okay. When you eat a cow, guys, make sure, don't go up to a cow and eat it. That's weird. Okay. Make sure it's cooked and like a steak or something, or a nice burger. All right. Don't just go up to a cow and eat it. People will look at you funny. Okay. I don't know that from experience, but anyway. So for heterotrophs, okay, I do not want you to think this is a heterotroph. This lady is obviously making a lovely, looks like cilantro maybe, and a lot of cilantro, and cucumbers, maybe some salt and pepper on there, it looks like, with some tomatoes underneath. She's making a sandwich, obviously a vegetarian sandwich, but this is not a heterotroph, this is not an autotroph, okay? This is still a heterotroph. This is someone making their own food, but they can't they're making their own food in the kitchen, okay? This is not making your own food by yourself, okay? Autotrophs are when you make your own food internally. So this is still a heterotroph, even though she's making her own food, all right? So, okay. So let's go through a little overview of photosynthesis. I will move myself out of the way so you can see our lovely words there. What we are going to do in photosynthesis is, again, we are going to make glucose from two things. Carbon dioxide and water. Our energy source for doing this is going to be the sunlight. Okay? Along with making stuff in photosynthesis, there's also going to be some byproducts, some things that are formed during photosynthesis that are released. So the first thing is going to be oxygen. We are going to release oxygen into the air when photosynthesis occurs. So the plant goes through photosynthesis and it releases oxygen, which is really good for us because we need oxygen to survive. We need oxygen constantly, every second of every single day. All right. We're going to go over next chapter, guys, which kind of is a continuation of chapter 6. We're going to go over something called cellular respiration. Now, photosynthesis and cellular respiration, they work hand in hand with one another. For us, we are just going to go through cellular respiration. We are going to, during cellular respiration, we are going to take in some oxygen for us, and we're going to take in some glucose, and we are going to make ATP. That's all cellular respiration is, okay? Cellular respiration is taking in, for us, oxygen and glucose and making ATP. How we are able to go through cellular respiration is we take in glucose, so we eat. That's all we do. Photosynthesis, these are in plants. Plants cannot do what we do. They cannot go to the refrigerator and be like, hey, I got some leftover meatloaf or something. I don't know why I chose meatloaf, but I got something nice in the fridge that I had left over from yesterday. I'm going to eat it. Yeah, you just ate something. You just ate some sugar. Plants, they don't have a mouth, so they can't just take in sugar. So plants, what they're going to do is they're going to go through photosynthesis first. Photosynthesis is going to make that glucose, which on the screen here it says organic compounds and oxygen, okay? They're going to make those organic compounds. They're going to make that glucose. Then that glucose is going to go to cellular respiration. And in cellular respiration, the plant is going to make ATP. So it's going to take in that glucose and convert it into ATP. So our goal of all this, guys, is to make ATP, which you remember from last chapter is energy that our cells can use. So during photosynthesis, we are going to have two different phases. The first phase is going to be called the light reactions. These are ones where we are going to obviously need light. Okay. When we are doing this, these light reactions, we are going to make ATP. You're like, wait a minute. You just said on the last slide that cellular respiration makes ATP and that photosynthesis makes glucose. Yeah, I wasn't lying to you. It really does. But here's the thing. We are going to make a little bit of ATP in photosynthesis, but it is not enough ATP to keep the cell, the plant cell running, okay? So during the light reactions, we are going to make two things. We're going to make ATP, and then this other guy, which is an electron-carrying molecule, it's called NADPH. We're not worrying about the fancy long name. All you have to know about this, here, let me write it down here. We are going to have NADPH, this is the molecule with the electron. I'm just going to do E- for electron present. So it has an electron. Okay? So in other words, it's just chilling there carrying an electron. Then it's going to go somewhere and it's going to drop off that electron. Why is it dropping off an electron? Well, the electron can be used for energy and it can connect two things. Picture this electron like the glue that can stick two things together. Whenever this NADPH gives its electron away, it gets transformed into NADP plus. Okay, so this is the molecule. Oh my. Sorry, I can't spell. With the electron absent. All right, so NADPH, electron is present, it's chilling there, it's carrying its electron. Whenever it drops off that electron to probably fuse two things together, it's going to get transformed into NADP with a positive charge, okay? So that's what the light reactions, guys. Light reactions, and we'll go through them all. It forms ATP and NADPH. And then the second part of photosynthesis, our second step, is going to be the Kelvin cycle. What's going to happen in the Kelvin cycle is this is where we are going to use our products from the light reaction. So we're going to use that ATP. We're going to use that NADPH that we formed up here. And we are going to use them in order to make sugar. Now, neither of these, ATP or NADPH, neither of them have carbon in it. But sugar, we know sugar is C6, H12, O6, okay? How are we going to get these carbons? Well, we're going to use carbon dioxide, and that's how we're going to bring the carbon in, all right? So along with having the ATP and NADPH from our light reactions, we are going to have to bring in carbon dioxide in order to make our sugar during the Kelvin cycle. All right. Here is our photosynthesis equation, guys. We are going to start off with carbon dioxide. We are going to bring in some water, and then we're also going to have light as our catalyst or our energy source, and we are going to form sugar and oxygen. So if you notice, just to go over this, we have some numbers, some coefficients in the front of each of our molecules here, okay? So we have one on carbon dioxide, we have one on water, we have one on oxygen, but we don't have one on sugar. What this tells us is that we need 6 molecules of carbon dioxide. We need 6 molecules of water. We need we will form 6 molecules of oxygen. Why we need 6 is because sugar has 6 carbons. Where do we get those 6 carbons from? Well, from the 6 molecules of carbon dioxide. Because carbon dioxide only has 1 carbon, so we need to get 6 of them in there. But that's your overall photosynthesis equation, guys. These over here are our reactants. So our reactants of photosynthesis are carbon dioxide, water, and sunlight. And our products are going to be our glucose, or our sugar, and our oxygen. All right. Okay, so what I'm going to do here, guys, instead of starting our light reactions, because I'm going to draw the light reactions out for us. Let me go to this slide instead. This is a chloroplast, So it's going to be in our plant cells. This is a chloroplast. Okay. Now, I'm going to draw another picture here, and I'll label this, and then we will call it a day here. I'll let you guys go. But we talked about the endosymbiotic theory in chapter 4, how the chloroplast was probably once a somewhat kind of prokaryotic cell. If you look here, we have an outer membrane right there. We have an inner membrane right there. Okay? If we wanted to transform these and call them something different, which I do not know why we call them something different with the chloroplast, the outer membrane would be the same as our, what was the outer covering in prokaryotic cells? It's a cell wall. And in our inner membrane, that would be our cell membrane. Okay? So those are your two coverings. All right? So let me redraw this, because instead of doing a three-dimensional drawing, I'm going to give you guys a two-dimensional one. I think it'll be a little bit easier to understand. Okay. So we're going to have our outer membrane. And then we're going to have our inner membrane. Yeah, it's going to get sloppy. Oh, look at this, holiday colors. Okay, so that is our inner membrane. This here is our outer membrane. Okay, so just like a prokaryotic cell, let me label this. This is our chloroplast. All right, so going inside, we are going to have these stacks that look like lovely pancakes without the maple syrup on top. Okay. So, these little stacks here, one circle, so let me just pull one of them out so you guys know what I'm talking about. One of those circles is called a thylakoid. All right? A whole stack of thylakoids is called a granum. If we want to go plural with it, it's G-R-A-N-A, grana. Okay, instead of granum. And then the last thing I want to mention about the thylakoids is inside of the thylakoids, we have this pigment, and I'm only going to draw it in this one here, but inside we have this pigment called chlorophyll. And that's, again, guys, going to be inside the thylakoids. It's a liquid that's inside. The nice thing about the thylakoids, guys, is made out of the exact same stuff that the cell membrane was made out of. If you remember, it was the lipid was phospholipids. Our thylakoid is also a lipid bilayer of phospholipids. So the thylakoid membrane acts just like the cell membrane, with some things it's going to let in, some things it's going to let out, but not everything. All right. And then the last thing I want to label on this picture, guys, is this. Okay, which is the stroma. So that is just a fancy term for the chlorophyll, the liquid that is inside of our chloroplast, inside the inner membrane, and it's all around our thylakoids, and it just keeps the thylakoids in place. All right. So here is all your structures that you need to know for a chloroplast. We have the thylakoids, which are floating around inside in stacks called granum. We have an outer membrane, we have an inner membrane, just like our prokaryotic cells. Inside of our thylakoids, we are going to have some chlorophyll, and that chlorophyll is going to help us to absorb sunlight. That's the chlorophyll's goal, which we'll talk about later. And then lastly, our liquid portion inside is called the stroma. Okay, guys, we will call it a day here. Next time we'll come back and I'll talk to you guys about the light reactions. Have a good day.